Hi, my name's Ethan, and this is a personal video about failure. I hope you like it. The Simpsons is an animated sitcom that first aired in December of 1989 and has aired over 740 episodes since. Before even a decade had passed, the show was already a global cultural phenomenon. To this day, the first few seasons of The Simpsons are seen as some of the best television of all time. But by 1999, we were seeing shows begin to air that were satirizing The Simpsons, a show that was already satirizing the family sitcoms of the 70s and 80s. When something becomes satirized and that satire becomes mainstream, what happens to that original media? I'm filming on a skateboard, so I can get used to being on a skateboard more. For a multitude of reasons, the cultural relevance and overall ratings of The Simpsons began to decline severely going into the early 2000s, and it only worsened from there. You could talk for literally hours about how this happened and why, but the point is, people stopped liking The Simpsons. Less people were seeing it, and the people that were seeing it weren't liking it. Some of them even hated it.
Homer Simpson is such a fat, lazy, inconsiderate buffoon. He does not care for his family one bit.
But is The Simpsons a failure? The franchise itself is worth more than ever. The show is still known all around the world. It's won several awards, has had some of the most famous people on in the world as guests, and is the longest running animated TV show of all time. So would you call something so accomplished a failure? Even if you did, whose failure is it? If it was good once and it isn't now, is there just one person to blame? The concept of failure in the way a lot of people understand it just doesn't exist. And I'm talking about like on a personal, individual, artistic level, not like a fucking business or military operation, okay? Listen, you aren't really a failure until you're dead. Then it really doesn't matter, does it? Every single time you try something, no matter how far you get into it, you learn something. And that's all you really need. Your brain doesn't ever really fail, it just grows. If I wanted to do an ollie, and I never even got to the point where I bought a skateboard, well then I learned it's not very fucking important for me to learn an ollie, is it? Or maybe I'm really bad at motivating myself to do things that I want to do. Are those related to learning how to do an ollie? No, but it doesn't matter. You didn't fail because you got something out of it. Failure isn't binary. It's not you did it or you didn't. There's reasons and nuance as to why you might have done it or might not. And analyzing those reasons and appreciating the process of failure is literally part of being a human being. So much of alpha male content online is driven by this need to succeed and to strive against failure, and that, you know, people that you don't like are actually people who just didn't try hard enough. They're the real failures. It's a manipulative attitude that serves to just create a fear in not being subscribed to their $50 a month lesson plan. But it is hard to blame everyday people for thinking this way, right? I mean, society stokes that same exact kind of fear. For example, homeless people are seen as people who have failed in their lives, people who don't try hard enough or don't work hard enough. It's a much more common attitude outside of the internet than you might think. When in reality, if you actually talk to a homeless person, chances are they were failed by systems, by coincidences, by circumstance. In so many different cases, failure just boils down to bad luck. I mean, even when we say someone was failed by a system, in America, we're generally talking about systems that are working as intended. Homeless people are a consequence of capitalism hoarding wealth at the top, workers being exploited at every level, landlords raising rent without regulation, our policing system brutalizing and over-policing, our penal system not actually providing resources and rehabilitation, which leads to increased recidivism. Every single one of these failures is a system working as intended. What we define as success or a successful person is also really skewed. I think a lot of people assume that wealth and fame can change people, and it certainly can, but I think what's more to blame is that we have systems that enable really toxic, manipulative, coercive people. From the film industry to the games industry to YouTubers, there's so many examples of people who are seen as successful and are beloved being really fucking shitty, toxic people. So when your favorite YouTuber or actor or game developer ends up being a creep, is that a failure? When society is rewarding people for being weird freaks? If we can accept that we live in a culture that's the direct result of systemic inequality, then we should be able to be honest about how these systems are upheld individually. The way we apply terms like failure and success to our everyday lives, and especially in online discourse, is just incompatible with human beings in nature and reality. You might be saying to yourself, great, Ethan, the people that I look up to are weird and they're freaks, and Yes, first of all, but secondly, my point isn't even about these people as individuals, but rather how we use weirdos to represent our ideas of success personally. Think back to when you were in like first grade and your teacher said to the class, one of you might even be president one day. What the fuck? Yeah man, I totally want to join the elderly pedophile war criminal club. Really successful guys over there. I also don't want to sound like I'm just saying, oh, believe in yourself, you can do whatever you want, because I really just find that an annoying way to behave. And I feel like what I'm trying to get across is more objective than that. I'm not saying you should have this attitude. I'm saying that this is how the world is, whether you like it or not. Either failure does not objectively exist, or failure is just the way that everyone learns. And there's something really damaging about associating the way everyone grows with failure, especially when successful people, in a lot of cases, are weird monsters, actually. In a lot of cases, you have to sort of embrace things that feel unintuitive, because your intuition is probably going to lean on the side of the status quo, which, you know, we've seen where that's gotten us so far. And throughout history, people who have tried unintuitive ideas and unintuitive philosophies were trampled by imperialism. It's the same with gender expression and sexuality. Anything apart from the Anglo-Saxon interpretation of what gender, sex, failure, success, money, really anything outside of that Eurocentric worldview has been chastised throughout history. And burned also. So I think it's okay to embrace unintuitive ideas, even if they feel unsafe at first. There's a level of entitlement and pampering in a lot of conservative ideas that keep you from wanting to try new things and embrace new ideas. That's fucking stupid, and it's ingrained in American culture. It takes a lot to unlearn that, and it's not like I've fucking completely done it, but I think it's a really important trait to have, is to just be actually open-minded, not like having a coexist bumper sticker. Every year or so I like to switch up my background, and since I've had a decent following on YouTube, it's always been a tapestry. The first one just happened to be whatever was on my wall in my college dorm, and then I rented a room in a house in that same town while I was still going to college and bought the Juices Loose flag. After that, I moved to my first apartment on my own, and I wanted a background that was more of my own as well. I made the Weekly World News tapestry out of a bunch of articles that already existed, and I felt like it was a small personal accomplishment having even made a collage of someone else's work and repurposing it for my own. And finally, I made this tapestry just a few months ago. And at first, it really felt like something that I did on my own. And until I got it in the mail, it really felt like I was making this continuous upward trend in effort that I'm putting into my channel. When I got the tapestry though, something about it just rubbed me the wrong way. As soon as I put it on the wall, I fucking hated it. And I still kind of do. I spent quite a while racking my brain as to why I hated it, but the bottom line was I just didn't like it. And as soon as I posted my last video, of course, people were saying that they liked it, that they were asking where I got it and how to buy it and all that, which, don't get me wrong, is incredibly flattering, but it doesn't change the way I feel about it. All of that was much less important than my own need to express myself. I felt like I failed. And I couldn't even put my finger on why. Ultimately, I realized it was because I had always done a tapestry, and it felt like a half measure. Of course, I was using a tapestry when I was a broke fucking college student. That's all I had. But I'm doing this as a job now, and I feel like I should take it more seriously. Realizing that didn't exactly help me. It just kind of made me feel worse. And I'm the kind of person who puts a lot more pressure on himself than I need to, but what came out of that was one of the most exciting projects I think I've ever done. I started looking on Etsy for any kind of art I could get, and I started with beginner art and amateur paintings. They varied in skill level, but almost every person I found was trying to start something. And when you're learning and growing before you have this expectation of success or fear of failure, what you create can be really genuine. And I think that's the perfect way for me to represent my channel. And here everything is. This is the new video background. I've been waiting for like a month to put all this shit up, so I'm very excited about it. You might see me change some things around and reorganize some stuff over time, but this is how I want to represent my channel. There's so much genuine creativity in these pieces, and I have a lot of appreciation for all of them. Failure isn't real, and the fact that hundreds of thousands of people will see all of these pieces just goes to prove that. Thank you so much for watching my video. Please click like if you had a good time, or subscribe for more videos just like this every week. Thank you so much to my patrons who make stuff like this possible and videos like this possible. Feel free to join if you'd like. I'm working on all kinds of new stuff down there. Thank you again so much for watching, and thanks for being here. Bye.